welcome back to my channel. I'm Bree, and today we are going to do something different. I have always wanted to tell my story, but I was always afraid. I worried about what people would think about me. I questioned, was my story even worth telling? I had thoughts that maybe this is just something that I go through as a person and that's it. Like, everybody has a story, which is not a lie, but still a fact. Everybody has a story, but not everybody tells their story. Not everybody has been able to even tell a story. And I think that it's a blessing to be able to tell a story. I think it's a blessing to still be alive. I think it's a blessing to come back from things that you thought that you wouldn't be able to. And nobody has the right to tell you that you can't tell your story. Nobody has the right to take your story from you. You are still a person at the end of the day. You are still special. And the main reason why we even have a story is to tell everyone else the story. Every book that was written was to relay a conversation. It's a written conversation from one person to another. Even though mine's not written down, it's still a story. I've been having these thoughts that the Most High gave me my story because it was mine. He knew why he gave it to me. And because I'm able to tell my story, it's for a reason. And being obedient may not look easy. It may not feel comfortable. Because I kid you not, I was not comfortable putting up a camera to tell my story. Even though I want to do YouTube and things like that, I don't want to do it for no reason. I want it to be for a reason that glorifies the Most High. Because it's a blessing to be alive. And I know we take that for granted because every day we wake up. But not everybody wakes up every day. My story is not just for me. It's to help somebody some way, somehow. And he saved me just because of that. To show people the glory of the Most High, and I never really understood that until now. I am going to tell my story about how the Most High saved my life. On September 3rd, 2006, I left home with my mother and a few of my family members, my cousins and my youngest brother. We were going to celebrate my grandmother's birthday, which was the next day, September 4th. My mom, or one of the sisters, had planned this trip or this birthday party at the lake, which is like 45 minutes away from our home. So it's a normal day, nothing weird. The weather's nice, beautiful. It's September weather. As we're driving, we are driving on the interstate. They call it the overpass. We're driving on the overpass. As we're driving, I believe my mother was trying to get over, but she couldn't. So as she's driving, picking up more speed, somehow the tire pops. The tire pops and we begin to flip. My mother was 26 years old and she was 6 months pregnant. I was 5 years old. My brother was 2 years old. I'm not exactly sure how old my cousins were when this happened to them as well. As we're flipping, we're being thrown out of the van. It was an old school van with the sliding doors that you can hear when it opens. As we're flipping, I hear my mother scream, "Get my kids out." But by that time, my cousin that she was talking to had already been thrown out of the van. We are high up in the air. This is an elevated bridge. It's elevated. And my mother flips off of off of the bridge with the van. She flips into the water and drowns. She was unconscious from my knowledge before she had went over. The van had sunk so far down into the water that they had to dive into the water, down wherever it was, to get the van, or to even locate it, because they couldn't locate it just from the surface. The diver had mentioned that that was the furthest he had dived since his career started. My oldest cousin went through the windshield. My little brother had went through the side doors out of the van into the water. I believe one of my other cousins did as well. I'm not very familiar with everyone's injuries or where they were placed when they flew out of the van. I do remember my cousin's boyfriend being diagonally a few feet in front of me, and he was laying on his stomach, and his arm was dislocated. I remember flying out of the van and slapping the concrete hard, so hard to the point that my skull was cracked. The front of my skull was cracked. I had glass in my face, blood in my eyes, and the ground was hot, and the glass was all in my arms and in my hands. And I could feel my arm being like scraped badly, and it being like out of place. I remember seeing this man walk up to me and was like, "Try your best to remain calm. I'm a retired firefighter. We're going to get you help." And his wife was very she was panicking. She was, doing what any other woman who sees a child in a predicament that no child should be in. And her daughter was just staring like, what just happened? We are scattered on the highway. Cars are still passing. I hear the horn blowing. And I'm just crying like, I want my mother, I want my mother. And I'm laying on the ground when he placed this heat protectant. It was like this silver thing, this heat protectant thing he put over me. And he sat down, he kneeled down next to me and was like, just hold on. I promise you, you're gonna be all right, just hold on. And I didn't understand why they kept telling me to be calm. And I just went, Mother. I couldn't feel the lower half of my body. Literally, nothing. I could feel nothing. From there, I went blank. I remember waking up in a helicopter, and the lady, I kind of like tipped my head over to see where I was because everything was blurry. The lady who was flying the helicopter, she was like, just hold on a little bit longer. We are almost there. We are almost there. And then she said something to someone over the radio, and I black out again. And then I wake up on the roof of Auctioneer's Children's Hospital, Auctioneer, which is in New Orleans. I remember being on top of it, and them pulling me up off of the bed onto the another bed, and they're rolling me on the roof into the elevator. And the doctors are like moving around real fast. This lady, she's calling out codes. One doctor is telling me like, we have to do immediate surgery. I know you don't understand what's going on, but we're gonna do the best that we can to help you. still not knowing what's going on. I remember being placed on a bed in the emergency room. I had on shorts and a white shirt that was no longer white. It was completely red. They laid me on the bed, and I remember the doctor coming up to me saying, hey, we're going to give you this mask, and we're going to count down to 3. When we count down to 3, you're going to be asleep. Can we do that? And I'm like, because whatever they gave me was so strong that I couldn't even talk. But I was able to nod my head. So he counts down to 3. Well, he counts down, he goes 1, 2, and by that time I was out. So I wake up in a room. I wake up in a hospital room, and I can see people standing just like distraught. No one's really saying anything. And I remember, I think my grandmother coming up to the bed and just looking at me. I remember asking where my mother was, and nobody answered. I tried to move in the bed, and I could not move. My legs were so disfigured. I had found out that my legs were broken in many different places, and that I may not be able to walk again. Told me and my family that it was going to take a miracle for me to walk because of how broken my legs were and how it was hard trying to put the pieces back together. And that they did everything that they could to save what they could. So I spent a lot of time in the hospital. I spent a very long time in the hospital, recovering, keeping track, the doctors keeping track of my progression, if I was progressing. For a while, they didn't see any progress, which led them to only believe that I was going to be in a wheelchair, or I think they called it paraplegic. I could be wrong. And I always wondered, like, why did this happen to me? Did I deserve this? Is this something that I did wrong? I was in the hospital by myself. Not by myself, but I spent a lot of time in the hospital without visitation from my family. I didn't have my mother to come see me. I didn't have my father to come see me. And I was being taken care of by this, I think her name was Miss Brittany. She was taking care of me the entire time I was in there. She made it pleasant, extremely pleasant, to the point where I didn't even pay attention as much as I should have, knowing that I was in the hospital. We had theater night, we had store day. We just had so many activities that she had planned for me and the other children that was in the hospital as well. I had always questioned everything I saw in the hospital. Like, why are these children sick? What's causing them to be this sick that they have to stay in the hospital so long? Also, like, did God do this? Did he allow this to happen to them too? And I just started to wonder, like, who's God? Because they would come in there and they would talk to us about God. They would teach certain things about God, and I'm like, I want to know this God that y'all talking about. Like, can this God fix my legs? Can this God heal me? I remember praying and asking, like, if you could make me walk again, if he can make me walk again, I will use my legs. I want to walk again. I don't want to be in a wheelchair forever. I don't want to spend the rest of my life in a wheelchair. I don't want to be like this forever. I want to go back to school. I want to be able to play with the kids. I don't want to be limited to where I can go, where I can be, because this wheelchair is limited. These doctors are telling me that I'm limited, that I will never walk again. And I didn't want that. I'm thinking I'm just a kid. Like, kids are supposed to play. Kids are supposed to run around. They're supposed to jump. They're supposed to hop and skip. And I can't do that. So, could you do that for me? And I'll use my legs. So, time's going on. I'm still in the hospital. And then I get the doctor came in. He was like, well, we're going to do a checkup. We're going to do x-rays on your legs and see if you progress. They do x-rays on my leg, and they call my family and tell my family, like, you know, she's progressed more than we thought she did or would have. And it's safe to say that, you know, she can go home. She will still be in the wheelchair, but it's safe for her to leave. So they took the rods out of my legs and put the cast back on my legs. And I remember the doctor telling my grandmother that when they got there, that it was a miracle. That my legs healed the way that they healed, and that they shouldn't have, based on how soon they healed. So I remember my grandma just saying, like, you know, the Lord blessed you to be able to walk. I mean, the Lord blessed you to be able to leave. And them taking the rods out of your legs. I'm still thinking, like, yeah, but I'm still in this wheelchair. I can't walk still. Y'all taking me home. The doctor said I got better, but I can't walk. We get back home. I realize that I have to live with my grandmother now because my parents are no longer in the picture. And it was very hard getting adjusted to living with my grandmother because, one, she's not my parents. Two, her house was not wheelchair friendly. It was not like the hospital. So it was even more confined than the hospital. And I'm just like, when can I get out of this? So it got to a point where I had to actually get out of the wheelchair because it just wasn't working with the lifestyle that I had at the time. After, I think, a month or two, I ended up going back to the pediatric or the orthopedic. I ended up going to the orthopedics, which is a doctor that helps with children who have, I don't want to say bone issues, but it's just like a doctor that helps, or a practitioner that helps with the development of children in their bodies. So I go to the orthopedic and they do x-rays and they're like, wow, you are coming up out of these casts. Like, wow. They were so shocked. They were so shocked, which only led me to be like, I can walk. Like, I can walk now. So I remember them cutting the cast off of my legs. As they're cutting the cast off, I am kind of terrified because I'm like, it's been almost a year. They gave me crutches. Well, actually, was I still? Yeah. They gave me crutches to walk with, because I still didn't know how to walk. So when they gave me the crutches, my family was like, okay, I think it's time for you to walk. And I'm like, I can't. It's been a very long time. I don't think I could. So I used to scoot around the house, until one day I'm like, I need to walk. And I think my aunt knew that it was time for me to walk as well. And she came to me and she was like, you gotta walk. You need to at least try. So she forced me to walk. I remember taking my first step and now I'm shaking like crazy. I'm crying because I'm like, I'm gonna fall, I'm gonna hurt myself. Until I realized that this is what I needed to do. I needed to walk. As I'm trying to walk, I feel this joy coming over me, like it ain't that bad. It's not that bad. I needed this. I really needed this. Even though I didn't like the way that I was made, I was forced to walk, I needed this. Because it was so many days that I had to sit in the house, that I had to sit in the wheelchair, watching everybody, all the kids in the neighborhood play, not being able to go back to school. I felt so tied to the wheelchair. It was ridiculous. Like, sometimes I didn't even want to sit in it because I had to sit in it for so long. Then, grieving my mother, didn't even understand what grieving really was. I go back to school once I learned how to walk. I go back to school and I remember the kids, some kids, like, that's the girl who got in a car wreck. She almost died. Like, her mom died. Teachers coming up to me saying, like, you are so lucky, you're so blessed, like, you're very strong. You don't even understand how strong you are. Then, of course, there was the kids that bullied, made fun of my leg. And then all that, I'm still being a kid, figuring out how to be a kid again. Because I didn't know how for a long time. And the world felt different. It looked different. I remember after going through that, getting back to school, I know I'm probably skipping a lot of parts in this, but after realizing all of that, after going back to school, after learning how to walk, after getting out of that wheelchair finally, standing up, I have remembered that one day I was in the hospital, or that one night I was in the hospital bed, looking out the window, saying, if you let me walk, I will use my legs. And that the God that I prayed to helped me walk again. What I'm trying to say overall is that the Most High is real. Because that wasn't the only time he saved my life. But it was the moment that he made me realize that I would need him and I would have to call on him again. And that he's been there. From the moment I laid on the ground, to the moment I got in the helicopter, to the moment I got in the wheelchair, then leaving the hospital, being able to walk again, he was always there. And can't nobody take that from me. And it can't be taken from you. He is a wonderful and amazing God. The one and only. And he sent his son, Yahushua, the Messiah, to be that reminder to us, for us. And everything that you have been through in your life, everything that you have walked through, everything that you think that you couldn't survive, the Most High stands the same. He doesn't move. He doesn't change. And his word does not come back void. So, whatever it is that you have been through, find the Most High in it. Find the strength to continue to carry on, knowing that he's going to be the one to carry you. That if you call upon him, he will answer, even if it don't seem like it, even if it don't feel like it. This world is craziness. It's going to get even more crazier. But know that you have somebody, you have someone to call on. You're going to look crazy. You're going to look weird. You're going to be the outcast. You're going to be whatever it is. And the Most High is still going to choose you. That's my story. My story continues on. But for now, this is my words to you, my words for you. Don't give up. Keep fighting and do what's right, and right will follow.